Sometimes we need that person in our lives who comes up and says, yo, you mean so much to me. That is the virtuous friend. What we're talking about today is this idea of virtuous friendships. Now, what are virtuous friendships, you ask? Well, we're going to take a page from Aristotle today, specifically the page from his book called Nicomachean Ethics, where he talks about virtuous friendships. And essentially what Aristotle talked about was this is not like a type of utilitarian friendship where you're giving somebody something and you're receiving it. It goes and it transcends that. It's also more than a friendship that when you feel good, you're spending time with another person or you're sharing some sort of hobby. It goes further than that. The virtuous relationship is one in which, in order for me to feel my highest form of happiness, I need to see you be your happiest self. So I'm thinking of family members who've done that. I'm thinking of like my buddy Varick in Jacksonville, Florida, who throughout the years, we've just wanted the best for each other. And this is like one of those friendships that when you pick up the phone or we text each other, it's like nothing has stopped. Sometimes we need that person in our lives who comes up and says, yo, you mean so much to me. That is the virtuous friend. So when I teach the Joy Revolution course, the question I get time and time again is this: are virtuous friendships better than friendships of utility? Are they better than friendships of pleasure? And according to Aristotle, the answer is yes. The most you'll ever get from a friendship of utility is mutual benefit. The most you'll ever get from friendships of pleasure are enjoyment and activities. In virtuous relationships, we can have both of those and so much more. So for example, in a virtuous friendship, we start moving away from the external things related to utility, the external things that we get from pleasure, and start moving to the internal things, the intrinsic things. So what happens when we start moving to the intrinsic things is we have a relationship that's more stable and lasts longer. Also, at the same time, we're engaged in a deep level, a level where we can be vulnerable. And what happens there? We have more depth in the friendship. And as we move from a deep emotional friendship, we have the potential for growth, mutual growth. Why? When I'm in a virtuous relationship with you, I want what's best for you because that brings me the most happiness. And if you have the same for me, then we can have mutual growth. And then the final reason why Aristotle went and told us that virtuous relationships are better than the other two is that we get to receive unconditional support. Unconditional support that is not contingent upon receiving something back from the other person. It is truly rooted in genuine well-being and care. Okay, so you might be asking, how do I find virtuous relationships? And I would challenge you to reframe that question and ask this: how do I create virtuous relationships? Got three steps, three action steps that you can take to create those things and bring them closer. So the first one is being able to engage in deep conversations by being vulnerable. When you engage in deep conversations, you are creating this emotional intimacy between you and the other person. And by being vulnerable, it gives them the power of giving reciprocal vulnerability. So the next thing that you can do is to show interest and invest time in this other person. And by doing that, this action goes beyond surface level inquiries and goes to a place of genuine concern and genuine care. And here's a big one: celebrating wins together. When somebody has success, when something great happens to a person, the first thing that they want to do is share it with the other person. So the best way to like plummet a virtuous relationship is to not celebrate wins and to be like, whatever, to dismiss a person when it comes to their celebrations. So here's the three things again: to engage in deep conversations and be vulnerable, to show general interest and invest time in another person, and finally, to celebrate wins with each other. I hope you got a lot out of this, maybe even more than you expected. So with that said, be good, do good, dig deep. I'll see you in the underground.